Gilroy. What can we say about Gilroy? Yeah, let's change the subject with Gilroy. So, older globalization. You know, what can be said there? Is there a racial hierarchy? Can we see that, you know, the producers have encoded, you know, a white sort of hierarchy over black? Are white people in more powerful jobs? You know, are they wearing suits while, you know, the black characters are dressed in, I don't know, some jeans and a hoodie? We can also talk about cultural diaspora. Is there no ethnic representation? If so, you can talk about cultural diaspora. Ethnicities being on the margins of society. Yeah. And if there's a small amount of ethnic representation, we can also bring that in. We can also, you know, say that it's subverted. With all these theories, we can bring that in, which I'm going to go into in another video. But Stuart Hall's stereotypes and inequalities, Stuart Hall, I'm just trying to remember what he says off the top of my head, defines the ideological thinking of audiences towards specific social groups. So are we seeing, you know, these social groups being defined in a certain way? Is it positive? Is it negative? We've got Gay Tuckman, who talks about the symbolic annihilation of women. Are women condemned and trivialised, or are they given a big and important role in society? Fiske's ideology, you know, we can bring that in. You know, I can break theories like that, you know, when we're just talking about stuff to bring up. Some of them I'm just going to say, you know, the name of it, and, you know, the fact that you can bring it up. I'm not going to go into all of them because we'll be here all night. But if you want, check out my video on Fiske's ideology, because it's good theory. Barth's naturalisation, can bring that in. You know, the old, and all of Barth's myths for that matter. David Gauntlet, pick and mix identity. We can get Alvarado in, we can get Prop in. We can talk about, you know, representations of, you know, people in these different characters, you know, a female hero, unstereotypical. If we're going by sort of traditional gender values and what's encoded usually in media texts. So we move on to industries. I just flick through the notepad and get the old industries definition up. Right, you lucky things. We now get to move on to media industries. I know you've been waiting for this. You're like, oh, please tell me about media industries. I want to know so badly. Well, your desires are quelled, because now we go on to media industries. And media industries is how the processes of production, distribution and circulation engaged by the media affect media forms and platforms. So platforms, you know, immediately we can bring in cross-platform marketing, we can bring in digital convergence. You know, are they marketing their media product through handing out leaflets on the high street, or are they marketing their media product through an advert in a newspaper? Are they using social media? Are they doing, you know, YouTube trailers? Are they advertising on TV? All this kind of gig. And, you know, how does that target audiences? We can talk about production, you know, is it vertical integration? Is it horizontal integration? Can bring that in. Curran and Seaton, you know, are these, you know, methods of production, are they showing, you know, the drive of through the logic of profit and power, or are they not? David Hesmanhaig, get him in there, you know, Hesmanhaig, wheel him out when it comes to the industry questions. Could also talk about, you know, circulation. Is the product mainstream, or is it, you know, designed for a niche audience? And in light of that, we move on to what we can talk about for audience questions. So if you see this words come up in an essay question, say for example, how are audiences targeted? The things that I'm about to list off, you know that you can whip them out on the table. By the way, I should say you don't have to remember all of these for any of the sections. I would just say remember as many as you can and then bring them up, because that's going to give you a good base to tackle any of these questions. Okay, so audiences, we've got mass audiences or we've got niche audiences. So which is it targeting? If it's a really mainstream show like Friends, it's probably going to be targeting a mass audience, or is it a niche audience, which, you know, highlights quite a sort of outspoken viewpoint? Then maybe it's targeted more to a niche audience. We've got fandom we can bring in. We've got end of audience. We've got, you know, does the product target Internet 2.0 audiences? Does it target Generation Z? I've written something down here. Let's see what it says. Are they going to be drawn into the product? Yes. So this is a good point, actually. So are Internet 2.0 or Generation Z, are they going to be drawn into the product? You know, for example, Black Mirror, which plays around with a lot of technology, you know, audiences like that are more likely to be drawn in. Whereas a really old show, say like Fawlty Towers, you know, maybe there is, you know, fantastic comedy, but maybe there is less in it for that audience who are sort of craving, you know, those digital gizmos and gadgets kind of thing. Psychographics, yes. Does it target reformers? Does it target aspirers? Does it target mainstreamers? Demographics, you know, is it aimed at rich? Is it aimed at poor? The rich being obviously A, B, the middle classes being C1, C2, and then the sort of poor with a bit more money, D, and then the guys who are really struggling are the E demographic. So yes, bring that in. Who does it target? Who does it not target? Because you've got two things you can talk about there: who it targets and who it doesn't target. You can lace that in as well. Then we have our good duo, Katz and Bloomer. Not Ant and Dec. I emphasise not Ant and Dec, not Dick and Dom, not Sam and Mark, but Katz and Bloomer. And what do Katz and Bloomer talk about? Our good friends, Katz and Bloomer, they delve into the old uses and gratifications. So is this media product going to give personal identity to American businessmen? Or is it going to give them escapism because it's got nothing to do with them and it kind of doesn't relate, and it's a completely different mise en scène, it's a completely different, you know, climate to what they are used to living in? Does it create surveillance? Are we seeing, you know, people in Essex get arrested, and it gives us that surveillance of, okay, yeah, we're kind of safe and whatnot? And relationship with the media, is it like a game show where, not a game show, you know, like a talent show where you can send in to vote, you know, and there's the number that you can dial? That is establishing a relationship with the media, because it's saying directly to the audience, call in on this number, and, you know, it's creating that relationship. Then we have the old chestnut of Dyer's utopian solutions you can bring in. Reception theory. You know, what audiences would have an oppositional reading? What audiences would have a dominant reading? And then we have Bandura effects theory. You know, is that shown? Is it not shown? If so, that can also be a talking point. Then we've got two-step flow and hypodermic needle. And that is all. Oh, that's a good point. I've got to give you the definition for audiences. It is written down somewhere here. The spectators or listeners assembled at an event. That is the sort of broad definition of audiences. So yeah, hope that helps, folks. I'm all tuckered out after that one. I need to go for a nice lie down. But yeah, hopefully that helps you, you know, have a sort of grounding in what theories you can bring up when those four types of essay questions come about. Much love. Enjoy your days. Sam Ross.